Hefernolly TV. Present.
A Night Before My Wedding. Part 1, The Bridal Shower. In the midst of celebration, people were drunk, laughing, and catching up with each other. The grand hall shimmered under golden chandeliers, and the atmosphere was thick with excitement. Laughter echoed from every corner as guests toasted to love, friendship, and the promising future of Sophia Lawson Kennedy Jr. It was the perfect night, at least, that's what it was supposed to be. Sophia sat in her designated seat, smiling at her friends as they danced and drank, but deep inside, she felt uneasy. Something wasn't right. She couldn't place it at first, but as she scanned the room, her eyes caught sight of something, or rather, someone, that made her stomach twist. It was Ava, her chief bridesmaid. Ava had been too close to Kennedy all night. At first, Sophia had brushed it off as part of the fun. Ava was her best friend, after all. Maybe she was just being friendly. But then, as the night went on, she noticed the little things, the way Ava laughed at everything Kennedy said, the way she leaned into him, the way her hand lingered on his arm just a second too long. Sophia tried to dismiss the thoughts creeping into her head. She was probably overthinking it. But the more she watched, the harder it became to ignore. Kennedy, her fiancé, didn't seem to mind at all. In fact, he entertained Ava's closeness. He whispered something in her ear at one point, making her giggle. When Sophia walked over and tried to pull Ava away under the excuse of a girls-only moment, Ava always found a way back to Kennedy, her body brushing against his like they shared some secret connection. Sophia clenched her jaw, trying to focus on her guests instead of what was happening right in front of her. Tomorrow was her wedding day. She needed to be happy. But something in her heart felt wrong. As the night dragged on, the guests slowly began to retire. Some were too drunk to walk straight, others were laughing as they stumbled out of the hall. The once loud music faded, and the energy of the celebration dwindled into a late-night calm. Sophia returned to her suite, hoping to finally rest, but her mind wouldn't let her. She lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Her little sister, Lily, slept soundly beside her, her small frame rising and falling with each breath. The room was silent except for the faint sounds of the night outside. But inside Sophia, a storm was raging. She tossed and turned, replaying the night's events in her head. Ava. Kennedy. The way they looked at each other. Was she being paranoid? Was it all in her head? Her chest tightened. She needed someone to talk to. Someone to keep her company. Quietly, she slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Lily, and tiptoed down the hallway to where her bridesmaids were staying. She knocked softly. No response. She pushed the door open and peeked inside. All the bridesmaids were sound asleep, except Ava. Her bed was empty. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. She immediately turned and rushed down the hall, her heart hammering against her ribs. Her mind was screaming one thing: she must be with Kennedy. She reached Kennedy's suite. The door was locked. She knocked. No answer. She knocked again, harder this time. Still, nothing. A sickening feeling crawled into her chest. Should she wake someone? Should she scream? She was about to turn back when something in her gut told her to check elsewhere. Maybe they were still drinking. Maybe she was overreacting. She hurried to the hotel bar, expecting to find them laughing over drinks. But when she arrived, the only people there were workers who had fallen asleep at their posts. Her heart pounded. She moved to the restaurant, scanning every corner, but there was no sign of Kennedy or Ava. Just as she was about to leave, she passed the basement. And then, she heard it. A voice. Low, whispering. Sophia stopped in her tracks. She recognized that voice. Her body froze as she listened. I didn't mean to do this bullshit, Kennedy hissed into the phone. But after having sex with her, she overheard my business call. She threatened to tell my wife and everyone else. I had no choice. Sophia's breath stopped. Sex? Business call? She felt dizzy, as if the floor beneath her had just vanished. Kennedy was talking about Ava. Her hands shook as she pushed the basement door open. Her world shattered. Ava lay on the floor. Lifeless. Her once vibrant green dress was now a dark, bloody mess. Her arms were twisted unnaturally, her beautiful face frozen in horror. Sophia's body went cold. A scream crawled up her throat, but no sound came out. Then, she turned to Kennedy. He was standing there, staring at her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, he moved. In the blink of an eye, he lunged forward, grabbed the door, and slammed it shut behind her. Click. The door was locked. Sophia turned, her breath coming in short gasps. Kennedy, what is this? She whispered. He didn't answer. He just stared at her, his dark eyes empty. Then, slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a blood-stained dagger. You weren't supposed to see this, he said, his voice eerily calm. Sophia stumbled backward, her heart pounding like a drum. You killed Ava. Kennedy exhaled, rubbing his temple as if he were dealing with a minor inconvenience. She got too close. Kennedy took a step closer, gripping the dagger. She overheard things she shouldn't have. I had no choice, Sophia. Sophia's whole body trembled. She wanted to run, to scream, but her legs felt like stone. Her best friend was dead. The man she was supposed to marry had killed her. And now, he was standing between her and the only way out. Kennedy's eyes darkened as he tilted his head, studying her reaction. You shouldn't be here, Sophia. You were supposed to be in your room, waiting for tomorrow. He took another step closer, raising the dagger slightly. Sophia backed up until her back hit the cold wall. Kennedy, please, she whispered, barely able to breathe. We can fix this. We can. Fix this? He laughed, but it was cold and empty. There's no fixing this, Sophia. She's dead. His face darkened. And now that you know, you're in this with me. Tears burned in her eyes. No, I won't tell anyone, I swear. He leaned in, so close she could feel his breath against her face. You think I believe that? She shook her head quickly, her hands raised in surrender. Kennedy, please. I love you. The words felt like acid in her mouth, but she needed to stay alive. I'll do whatever you want. Just, please, don't hurt me. For a moment, his expression softened. Then, his lips curled into a smirk. Good. That's the right answer. He stepped back, lowering the dagger slightly. You're going to listen very carefully, Sophia. His voice was eerily calm, but the danger in it made her shiver. You're going to go back to your room. You're going to act normal. Tomorrow, the wedding will happen. Her heart stopped. What? He grabbed her chin roughly, forcing her to look into his cold, dead eyes. You will marry me. His grip tightened. If you tell anyone what you saw here tonight, I won't just kill you, Sophia. I'll kill your sister. Your parents. Everyone you love. A shudder ran through her body. He let go of her face and stepped back, tilting his head. Do you understand? Tears spilled down her cheeks. What choice did she have? She swallowed the lump in her throat and nodded weakly. Say it, he ordered. She forced herself to speak. I understand. Kennedy smiled. Good girl. He gestured to the door. Now go. And if you even think of running, remember, I will know. And I will end you. Sophia stumbled past him, her entire body shaking. She pulled open the door and stepped out, her breath coming in sharp, panicked gasps. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. But she couldn't. Because Kennedy meant every word. So, she forced herself to walk back to her room. To climb into bed beside her sleeping sister. To close her eyes, and pretend that she hadn't just watched her best friend die. Tomorrow, she would stand at the altar. Tomorrow, she would marry a monster. Part 2 coming soon.